Hi guys, it's Rob here from CMI High Tech. Today we've got in front of us the brand new Korg Minilogue, the 4-voice analog synth from Korg. Brand new, just arrived, so we're going to go ahead, open it up, have a look at what's in the box, and also pull some sounds out of it. So, comes with a power supply, obviously, external power supply. This is of course the Australian version, so Australian plug, but that looks like it's hot swappable, so you would be able to swap that out. And there she is. Really nice looking synth straight out of the box, I have to say. Nice aluminium top plate, back's wood, very light, like a lot lighter than what you'd expect from an analog synth, which is great for obviously portability and for people who are going to take it out on the road. So I think we should fire it up and actually hear what it sounds like. Okay, cool, so we've got it all set up, ready to go. I'm going to turn it on. When we turn it on, go through its tuning sequences, so it tunes all the oscillators and all of that. Getting it all ready takes a couple of seconds. In the meantime, I should probably mention that in the box you get this manual here with a nice block diagram, and the block diagram outlines the architecture of each of the voices down here, as well as the delay and the output. Worth having a read over this before you get stuck into the synth, just so you can kind of see the way everything's routed and what's affecting what. Gives you a better understanding of when you're actually getting to use the synth, kind of how everything's laid out. So definitely have a look at that before you get started. Alright, we've got two oscillators up here, both identical in layout, except VCO2 has these extra modulation options. So what we've got is the choice of three waveforms, a sawtooth, triangle, and a pulse or square wave. There's also an octave switch, so I can switch the octaves of the frequency of each of those oscillators independently. Pitch control. And a wave shaping control per oscillator as well. Now, the wave shaping will perform a different function depending on which waveform you've got selected. That's outlined in the manual, so have a look at that. But if you have a look at the oscillator, we can actually see what's happening as we apply the wave shaping. Cool. And we've got those same controls for both oscillators independently of each other. As I mentioned, oscillator 2 does have these advanced modulation options. The first being cross modulation depth. So I can actually modulate VCO2 via VCO1 by just increasing this knob here. And I don't actually have to have that turned up at all. That's internally routed via the cross modulation depth controller here. I've also got a sync control, which will slave VCO2 to VCO1. We also have the addition of a ring mod. Next to the FM mod, we've got the ability to control or modulate the pitch of VCO2 with this envelope generator over here. That's both positive and negative, with 0 being in the middle. On top of that, you probably notice that as I tweak a knob, I get this handy readout at the bottom of the screen here, just to let me know where I am and where I've tweaked, so I can get it back to 0, and because I see it on the screen, I have no doubt that that's back at the 0 position, which is really handy. Next up is the filter. Nice big chunky cutoff control, resonance knob here. We've got envelope generator intensity, so we can use the envelope gen here to affect the filter. We've also got switches down here to switch it between 2-pole and 4-pole, to key track, and to respond to velocity. So I'll show you those functions in a sec. So I've just switched it into the arpeggiator voice mode just to demonstrate. So we've got it in 2-pole mode, no resonance. This is just the cutoff. That's a bit of resonance. And apply some of the envelope generator. Alright, so that was on that's a 2-pole filter, just to demonstrate the difference between the 2-pole and the 4-pole. 4-pole now. So obviously 2-pole letting in a lot more of those frequencies. So also some extra functionality down here, key tracking and velocity tracking for the filter cutoff. So I've just turned up the noise. You can turn key tracking to 50% or to 100% key tracking. You can see that there. Also velocity tracking, again 50% or 100%. Okay, so below the envelope generator, we've got an LFO control with assignable targets. You can either assign it to the filter cutoff or the pitch and shape controls of the VCOs. With the pitch and shape, they will be routed to both VCOs simultaneously. There's also 3 different types of waves for the LFO, a sawtooth, a triangle, and a pulse wave. A rate control and an intensity control, as well as some modulation via the envelope generator. So if we just have the modulation off and slowly turn up the rate, you'll be able to see the oscillator dance there. Triangle. And square. Okay, we also have, as I said, modulation capabilities. We can use the envelope generator to modulate the rate or the intensity of the LFO. So if we choose rate, and the same with the intensity control. Very cool stuff. As I said, you can also use it to modulate the oscillator shape. Or the pitch. And of course, same thing, you can use the envelope generator to modulate the LFO, which in turn is modulating the oscillator's pitch. Okay, so we come over to this section here, the edit section. This is where we can hit edit mode and jump into edit all our parameters. The first section there is program edit. So under program edit, I can change a whole heap of parameters for each of my patches, and they're stored per patch. So if I save something on this particular patch and I switch patches, it won't carry over to the next patch. So I hit the first button here to jump into that, and the first section is the name. The second section allows me to change the function of the slider over here. So I've got anything from pitch bend to the pitch of the VCOs, the cutoff and resonance, any of these envelope generator parameters, etc. So a whole heap of stuff there. Underneath that, you'll see there's a couple of dots that signify that on this layer of the menu there's a couple more editable parameters. So I press that button again, and I've got the bend range for the slider, both the positive and in the negative directions, and I can set that anywhere between 1 and 12 notes in either direction. So a total of maximum 24 notes. And if we go to the third option here, we've got the LFO sync to the BPM, the LFO key sync, and voice sync. Okay, jump over to the next. We've got the ability to edit portamento, and if we want to change any of these parameters, you just use the program value knob to switch it, and then hit right to store that. Alright, so if we jump over here now to the sequencer, this is how I access my sequencer functions. This has a built-in 16-step sequencer inside, so I can access steps 1 to 8 across here, or I can choose 9 to 16. I've got a play button, which is also a play stop, a rest, which will momentarily pause the sequence as long as you're holding that. It also acts as a reset for when we jump in there and actually start inputting notes, and then you've got a record button. So if I actually put it into record without hitting play, I can actually record each step one by one by just hitting a note, and it will move to the next step. So if I pop in a note, so I've popped in 13 steps there. If I hit play on that now, it syncs to the tempo. And if I want to overwrite any of those steps, I can go back into record, move through the steps. I can see the note that I've input there. I'm currently on mono mode. If you whack it into poly, you can actually select up to four notes per step. And if I didn't like that note, I can just jump into the third step and change the note. If I hit this first button over here to select my steps and I choose one of these steps, I not only can select a note, but if I hit that again, I can also choose the gate time, which is set with the program value knob here. So I can set the gate time of each of the steps individually and move along and change those gates. If I hit play. So now the cool thing that I can do in this unit, like on the Volkers, is I can actually, and the Electrides, I can motion sequence. So I can record my knob movements in real time, and they will then record over the sequence and then play back when the sequence starts to loop. So if I start playing this sequence and I want to record the filter cutoff, I just put it into record. Now recorded that motion. The cool thing is though, if I want to get rid of that, it's really easy to get rid of. I just jump into edit, jump into sequencer edit, hit that. So in the sequencer edit menu, I've got the ability to change the length of the pattern, so up to 16, but I can shorten that. I can set the swing, set the default gate time, so what it will default the gate to. That doesn't mean you can't go in and edit that gate time like I did, but I can choose where I want it to default. And also the resolution of my steps, so whether it be 16th, 8th, quarter notes, etc. On the fourth button here, it shows you which parameters have been motion sequenced. So it's showing me the cutoff because obviously I just tweaked the cutoff knob. If I'm not happy with that and I want to get rid of that motion sequencing, then I just turn this program value knob. It says clear, I hit right, and now that's cleared and I'm good to go and re-record something over the top. So really nice and easy way to use a step sequencer with this keyboard, and quite a powerful step sequencer as well. Okay, so down the bottom, last but not least, we have the voice modes. Some of these will be familiar, some of these are completely kind of brand new. So the first is poly. As it sounds, it allows you to play 4 notes polyphonically. And for each of these settings, the voice depth knob will do something different. So in poly mode, it will invert, and in duo and unison modes, etc., it'll do something different. So if we find a duo patch, so duo essentially splits the voices over 2 notes, so and they act in unison. So each note is assigned 2 voices, and you can play 2 notes simultaneously. And the voice mode knob here acts as a detune. Unison, which is the next mode, will combine all 4 of the voices together in unison and allow you to play monophonically. So I'll just grab a... So this is now unison. In unison mode, the voice mode depth also acts as a detune again. Allowing you to get really nice fat sounds out of there. Mono mode, as you would have guessed, allows the synthesizer to operate just as a standard monophonic synth. The voice mode here adds some sub bass to the sounds. Cool. Chord mode. Let's jump over to a chord patch. chord actually allows you to play one key chords, and the voice mode depth knob here actually allows you to switch between your types of chords, so from fifths, major, seventh, the ARP mode is quite a powerful arpeggiator, and the knob here actually lets me select my different ARP arpeggiation modes. So I've got anything from manual, rising, fall, rise and fall, poly, and random. Delay mode is a new one, and it's quite interesting how it works. Essentially what it does is every time you play a note, it stacks all four voices and delays them a particular amount set by the voice mode depth knob to create a delay effect, essentially. So I've got it set at quarter notes. Yes. And then very short to create very short delays for cool effects. And the last mode is sidechain, which is another new one for Korg. What it does is, if I'm playing a particular note and then I play a note on top of it, it is going to essentially duck the volume of this note while I play a melody on top, and when I release, it will then raise the volume of the held note. They're really cool if you've got some sort of underlying kind of pulsating sound and then you want to play a bit of a melody over the top. It'll duck that initial sound to create room for the melody, which is really cool.